one of the most fascinating careers and public personalities, Kangana Ranaut and her film appearances lately have taken a backseat, her statements and opinions becoming the main focus. This was not the case a few years ago before the pandemic, where Kangana and her films would not only guarantee something interesting from a storyline point of view, but would especially extract such fine performances from her. This is just not the case of her commercially successful mainstream films like Queen and Tanu Weds Manu, but even projects which were underwhelming financially like Judgmental Hai Kya and Panga. They would really reinstate the fact that Kangana the actor was here to stay. However, I don't know whether it is the case of just changing dynamics post the pandemic, but a Kangana starrer just is not becoming the weekend go-to film for many movie viewers. With Dhakad miserably failing, all eyes were set on how Kangana would portray an Indian Air Force officer in Tejas. The movie focuses on Tejas Gill, played by Kangana, who spearheads several missions as a fighter pilot. How her physical ability and intellectual acumen gets put to the test as she puts her life on the line and hits home the message of patriotism and love for one's country forms the basic crux of this film. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Tejas in theatres or not. The good. Shashwat Sachdev's contribution. In a film that is technically inept visually, it really is a sword to the eye, I must say. It was praiseworthy that at least the music composer Shashwat Sachdev put his best foot forward to elevate the underwhelming frames. Janda has to be a standout from the album, sung beautifully by Arijit Singh, and I wished it was dispersed more in the film to represent her love for the country rather than just a romantic track of a half-baked relationship. Shashwat has contributed extremely well in films like Uri and Attack, and while the visuals and Sachdev's score were almost in a perfect synergy in those films, it isn't so much the case in Tejas. One can only do so much with the rudimentary CGI and special effects of the film, and for a movie that is intended to be a patriotic action thriller, it really misses the mark in truly being exhilarating or exciting, and this has nothing to do with the budget of the film, as many of you have already pointed out. It's about the time invested in rendering the same, which many producers don't realize is paramount regarding films that have to depend largely on special effects. More on that later. Establishing motive. What I can give credit to the makers with Tejas is that it establishes the motivation of the main character really well in the first half of the film. One meets a very emotional, expressive and determined officer in the form of Tejas, and one wonders why she has a personal stake in the matter. Why she feels offended when a senior officer assumes that she may be too volatile for a mission because of her personal history. As one takes a deep dive into Tejas and her family life, the film establishes this connection really well of why Tejas feels terrorism and any harm that is caused to the country should be taken personally by everyone. It is the horrible and unintentionally funny staging and execution of the mission at hand that really makes the film's quality go from an average film to a straight up poor film, and let's explore the same. The underwhelming aspects. Very poor CGI. There are many movies that are made on a shoestring budget compared to Tejas and still can extract better special effects than this film. Whenever there is a wide shot of the planes or anyone in a cockpit, the digitally rendered images look embarrassing, taking you away from the fact that you are actually watching a movie based on the Indian Air Force. There are even frames where Kangana is simply walking away from her jet and the frame is clearly digitally rendered. Even simple frames that can still be executed with practical effects have been digitally created. More importantly, very poorly. The dogfight sequence, that is what the screenplay builds up to, and you expect to be on the edge of your seat as Kangana eliminates all the jets that tail her, has to be one of the most anticlimactic action scenes you will ever see. It's just one incoherent attack after the other, and for a film that is advertised as a movie dedicated to the defense forces, such a poor render on the big screen is a huge sword to the eye, making me actually think that there hasn't been much progress since Mausam, and this was 12 years ago. Unintentionally funny supporting characters. As I previously said, the makers are partially successful at establishing the motive of Tejas, why she feels so passionately about spearheading the mission and the personal history that is attached to it, but the execution of the mission itself is so hilarious that you start wondering how did the makers think that anyone is going to take this seriously. You've got the Indian Air Force that uses the aid of Norway in making sure that their 2 fighter jets somehow reach Pakistan. This sequence presents a Norwegian with a thick Russian accent, and the other is played by Disha Patni's Jim Buddy, who has as many expressions as Harman Baweja at his prime. This is also compounded by a Pakistani soldier who is so dumb that his skills of putting 2 and 2 together are as proficient as the Pakistani cricket team's fielding prowess. The Norwegian gets shocked and he says, "The shock was shocking." The Pakistani soldier tells him, "What are you staring at, dumbass?" There is a battle of wits and trash talking going on between these two sides, and it's hilarious because they are just imbeciles arguing with each other. Too much clutter. The film could have easily been an above average watch in the theatres had its focus been on the mission at hand. But the problem with Tejas is that it wants to be everything. It wants to be a patriotic action film, it wants to be a romantic family drama, it wants to give a message about women empowerment, it sometimes even attempts comedy. And in this pursuit of wanting to do everything, its holistic product becomes so half-baked that you neither develop a nationalistic fervor within you or an edge of the seat experience that you would assume with the action set pieces. The villains are stock Pakistani extremists that you have seen in countless number of films. The seniors and colleagues of the Air Force just appear for a handful of scenes, barely leaving an impression, and the emotional quotient is absolutely missing because for some reason the makers are just in a rush to move on to the next scene with its economical 1 hour and 58 minute running time. The film goes from a simple rescue mission to an angle including the Ram Mandir and another risky mission that you start wondering if Tejas really wanted to solve world peace. She could do it if her seniors just gave her the coordinates, and I think this is the major problem that Kangana is dealing with right now in her career. The attempt by the actor who we have appreciated, adored and loved in several movies was that it was always Kangana playing the characters, not the characters assimilating to the aura of Kangana. The story revolved around not only her but an ensemble cast who could shine with her, and the quality of the story got elevated because all the actors' efforts were channelized towards the film and its screenplay. But now sadly the film and its celebration is catered towards Kangana the individual, so these larger than life characters who can save the world at the drop of a hat is a step away from what we loved Kangana for, excelling at playing characters. This attempt to create a niche for a star-led film to be synonymous with a Kangana Ranaut film is actually hampering the quality of her stories. Kangana, even in Tejas, can't leave a mark with her performance. Her delivery is slightly dodgy in several places, and it almost seemed like she had taken up all the pressure on her shoulders to make Tejas work solely based on her effort, not realizing that movie making is a highly collaborative profession, and one wishes we could get that old Kangana back, who organically fit in different fictional worlds with such ease. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Tejas. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.